Hello, Saints Nation. As you've probably heard by now, Seaside Events and the New Orleans Saints have come together to plan the official Saints Legends fan cruise aboard the amazing Norwegian getaway sailing out of New Orleans, Louisiana in April of 2025. As always, I'm Nick Valinchek, and I can't wait to sail away with you on this inaugural Saints Legends fan cruise. This journey promises to be fun, adventurous. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit of football along the way. For more information, visit saintslegendscruise.com and let's gear up to paint the seas black and gold. And on that note, I'm here today and I'm excited because we're going to be talking to former wide receiver kick returner from the New Orleans Saints, Tyrone Hughes. Tyrone, how are we doing today?
And that's defensive back.
Oh,
wide receiver.
That's right. There was a transition there.
Defensive back first, yeah.
Yeah. One of the most heralded special teams kick returners of all time. I actually kind of want to start there, because I think pretty much every other position to some extent gets recognition a lot for their contributions on the field. But we actually just saw a few weeks ago, 10 days ago, Devin Hester enter the NFL Hall of Fame. And I mean, he did well enough as a wide receiver, but I think, he'll ultimately be remembered in the game as one of the best
returnmen in the game. And I told him, I said, when with this new kickoff return setup that they have, I said I would have been in the Hall of Fame before Devin Hester had I been playing today.
That's true.
Or they had this setup back then.
Right. It's been interesting to watch so far, to say the least. It's I'm all for the game evolving in ways to try to not just prolong the careers of players, but the quality of life after the game as well. I think that's important as fans. I mean, we want to see the hard-hitting action, but this isn't Rome and you aren't gladiators. We don't want to watch you guys battle to the death at the same time. So I think, it's interesting changes for sure. But I got to ask, we see guys rip off long touchdowns. Derrick Henry runs like a gazelle as the size of a linebacker, and we've seen him break long runs where he's just a locomotive steamrolling people. We've seen Odell Beckham take slant routes 75 yards to the house. What is it that's different, though, about like that kicker punt return when it comes to you and you get to take it the distance?
It's first of all, it's definitely an exciting feeling. But the adrenaline is always there because, one, you never know if and when it's going to happen, but you're trying to make it happen every time you touch the ball. So I think that's one of the greatest things about it. You never know, and as fans, they're always excited when it does happen, obviously, because it doesn't happen so as often. But just being able to have that opportunity or that mindset of I'm going to take it to the house was one of the things that I enjoyed about it, and I knew I could electrify the stadium and also make a difference in the game.
Yeah, and I can kind of understand that feeling. I've been playing a lot of college football 2025 on the Xbox lately, and it's kind of interesting. I never really thought about it, just seeing the players running down the field, and then you have to rely on your own team to make those blocks, and it's just like a puzzle. And I love stuff like that, the mental aspect of it. It's like, okay, right now I've just caught the ball and I have 13 decisions I could possibly make here. What do I do? But it might have taken me 30 seconds to say that, but that thought process has to occur all at once when you're catching that kickoff return.
It's about the equivalent to a golfer's swing. You know how they used to show that commercial where he's taking the club back and there's about a million things going on in his head? It's about like that. And one of the things is I didn't really have, sometimes I did have a direction, let's say that, whether it was a right return, left return, middle return. Most of the time, my returns were just, I had the option to go wherever I wanted. And that was the thing that I liked about it, because I could set the guys' block up and the teams didn't know where we were going. And so that was one of the best things about it. And what made me so successful as far as gaining the yards, but just not having those opportunities to do it. It is a lot of thinking going on, but most importantly, it's all based on confidence. One, in catching the ball, because you have to have an understanding before, and people don't realize this. You have to have an understanding, because I actually got told my coach, look, I don't want anybody, even on the kickoffs, I don't want anybody back here with me. First of all, because I didn't want to block for them. And then second of all, I wanted to always catch the ball. So I would line up in the middle of the field, and according to where the kicker lined up, I knew where he was going to kick the ball. Um, when you're catching a punt, the way it comes off of a punter's foot, I understood where the ball was going to go. I mean, you look at film, you kind of judge hang time, you judge distance, but once you get into the game, I mean, if that ball comes out spiraling off his foot, I know, and it's a right-footed kicker, I know the ball is going to go carry deep into the left. If it comes off and that nose doesn't turn over and it's spiraling down, it's going to drop short and to the right. And I think that's one of the advantages that I had. And a lot of guys don't really understand that. Yeah, they're catching the ball and just thinking, get back there, catch it, and that's it. But having that intuition or knowing where the ball is going to go really helps in creating, not just giving you confidence in the catch, but creating field position and having an understanding whether I need to fair catch it or not on a punt, and how I can set up my blocks, because I understand if they kick it to the right on the kickoff return, those guys on the left are coming down. I know I'm going to have a hole back to that left side.
Yeah, that's a lot of information, but it's such good information, because I consider
and keep
myself,
in mind, all of that is going on while the ball is in the air.
right. Yeah, I consider myself to be a student of the game. I have a lot of different interests in my personal life in terms of like fantasy betting, whatever it might be. And so I'm constantly looking at statistics and things like that, but what we often forget about is just, okay, I could look at a statistic all day. There's no statistic that tells me how a ball is going to hit somebody's foot and what direction it's going to go when it comes off their foot, and how much we really have. I already can't control your performance because I'm not out there on the field with you, but then you can't even control your own performance because you don't know how the wind's going to affect it, what angle it's going to take off his foot. Did he put all of his leg into it? There's so much that goes into it that really makes football such a special sport. So you were with the Saints from, I believe, like 93 to 96.
Yes.
What was your greatest memory in that span of being a New Orleans Saint?
Well, first of all, I'm going to have to say getting drafted to the Saints, because obviously I'm from New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
Went to St. Augustine High School. Everybody know about the Purple Knights here. And then the second thing I would say would be the Rams game back in October of 1994, when I set the NFL record, which still stands today, for most kickoff return yards in a single game. But that also was a game that I was always the nickel and dime guy, which meant I played inside on third down passing situations. But that was the first game that I actually started as a defensive back on the outside. So that game, I was on the field quite a bit. So starting from kickoff return, the offense would come on the field, they'll punt the ball, then I go in on defense, and typically I would go in on third down. Now I'm going in on first down, second down. I move inside on third down, and then I go back and return a punt on fourth down. And that game, I ended up having, 347 total yards between punt and kicks. But not only that, I had an interception in the game, but it also was the first time I got scored on in the game. So there was a lot of firsts in that game. But by the end of the game, I was literally cramping in my stomach. And we're in a 2-minute offense. We're up, and I'm trying to cover guys running around holding my stomach because I'm cramping so bad from the game. And not only that, I'm calling to the sideline to my coach, Jim Moore Jr., who was the coach, our secondary coach at the time. I'm calling to him like, hey, come send somebody in to come get me. He's like, no, you got to stay in. We don't have anybody else because everybody else is hurt. I'm like, oh, my God.
Well, you definitely earned your game check that week for sure. And it's got to be a good feeling, to retire from the game and be able to say, especially these years later, I mean, I don't want to age you here, but like, you're talking about this is 20 30 years. Man, my math is terrible,
Yeah.
and I'm older than I thought I was apparently. But you've held a record for 30 years. How does that feel when you leave the game and you know that, especially now 30 years into it, you still have something that people are maybe not consciously chasing after, but like someone out there is probably thinking to themselves, I'd like to take his place one day and I'd like my name to be there.
Oh, definitely. I mean, and like they said, records are to be broken, and I think someday, especially with this new kickoff return, the way they have it set up, like I said, I would love it today. I probably would have had a lot more yards and a lot more touchdowns. It's just getting those coaches to understand how to set the blocks up to make these returners successful. And I think if they get that done, then you're going to start seeing a lot of records or a lot of yards being gained off of these kickoff returns.
It'll be good to see. It'll be fun to see how that kind of transpires into the next few years as we, adopt the new kickoff rule. I want to talk a little bit about rivalries. And was there a team or a player specifically when you saw them coming up on the schedule that week that really got you up and you're like, okay, this is the week I got to put on my A game because I either really want to beat this team or I want to knock this dude down or I want to intercept this guy's pass and take it to the house? Anything stick out to you there?
I would say the biggest rivalry, which still stands today, was probably the Atlanta Falcons, because they had a guy, Albert Shelley, who was who would always go every year to the Pro Bowl for basically as a special teams player, not as a returner, but because he was a great cover guy, whether that was on kickoffs or punt returns, or punt coverage, I should say. He was one of the best at it that always gave returners fits. And so that was a game we always took pride in, trying to make sure we did an excellent job that week, just because of him, or at least I did, just because of him. Everybody may think it might have should have been the 49ers because they were in our conference back then, but it was definitely the Atlanta Falcons.
So moving on from there, now it's been, like I said, 25-ish years since you've stepped off the field. I'm not saying that to try to rub it in. Look, I'm getting older every day. I could start to see it. I can't do the stuff that I was able to do 2 years ago even, right? But what would you give advice-wise to current Saints players, whether it be about the game itself or about what happens to them when the game passes them by?
And that was what I was going to go to, is basically once you leave, make sure y'all are planning for your retirements, or once you leave the game. Make sure these new collective bargaining agreements include things for the retired players. Don't just think all retired players have blown their money or what have you, because what people don't realize is that the average player is going to be done about 27 or 28 years old. And so there is not enough money, unless you are one of those one of two guys on a team that's getting paid millions and guaranteed money from 28 or 30 years old till you reach retirement. There's not enough money. You're going to have to go out and get a job. You're going to have to pay for medical expenses or have medical insurance. So make sure you guys are planning in these collective bargaining agreements to make sure that the older guys are being taken care of, because you're going to be one of those old guys one day.
Yeah, and I think we've seen that probably from like the late 80s until the early 2000s, where you just hear horror stories of poor money management and or trusting the wrong people. And, I think part of it has to do with thinking that it's going to last forever and not realizing that the people that are coming out after you have more information, have more access to the knowledge that you lacked 10 years before when you came into the league. So they're built bigger, stronger, faster, and it's harder for you to be able to keep your spot. And it really is a tight window. So you have to be mindful about what that next step is going to be. But speaking about next steps, what is Tyrone Hughes up to in 2024?
In 2024, well, before 2024, I've done some coaching on the high school level. There are odds and end jobs here and there, but as of right now in 2024, I'm working literally with several different companies, promoting their products.
Mm.
Whether that be a 24/7 disinfectant with a company called Casper, which is the number one disinfectant in the country, according to testing, It goes in the air conditioned ducts, so it not only disinfects your air, but your walls, floors, countertops, tables, whatever. Because people are only going to wipe down so much, and it's no chemicals. It's a one-time purchase, and it disinfects. What sets it apart is that it disinfects while people are actually in the room, compared to chemicals or ozone machines or UV lights that are being used before people come or after they leave, which is not doing anything. The building is clean, but they ain't doing anything while people are in there. I'm working with another company, Bridgeway, that is doing utility reduction. And what they'll do is they'll come into municipalities or school districts and change out all of their lights to LED lights. They'll do smart refrigeration, smart thermostats, everything upgraded, caulking the windows, making everything within your building energy efficient. And it doesn't cost anything up front. What they'll do is say, hey, we're going to guarantee you these amount of savings, and you pay them out of those savings, a percentage of those savings, which is a win-win for everybody, because you're getting new product. You don't have to pay for it, and you're not coming out of pocket with any extra money. You're actually saving and paying them out of the savings you were already spending anyway. Um, then we have a generator company. We have a generator. In fact, the company with the generator is Thurman Thomas's company. Used to play with the Buffalo Bills. They have a generator, and first of all, the generator is about the size of a cargo container. Um, and so we ain't talking about a regular home generator, but it's definitely something for industrial companies, citywide or corporation type buildings, industrial buildings, all on the commercial level. In fact, I'm here trying to get our sewage and water board to look at it, because they keep having these power outages, which is their excuse for our pumps going down. But the generator actually detects the power outage. Most generators come on after the power goes out. This generator detects the power outage and comes on before the power goes out. So you never know you even lost power. So for data companies out there with all of these floors and floors of servers, Google, Amazon, whomever, major refineries or whatever, this would be great for them. Obviously, and we also dealing with solar panels for schools, businesses, government entities. Um, we have a program where we're literally giving. Yes, it's free. There's no catch to it. So if you want more information, please look it up. It's called the Power Purchase Agreement. So most of the time you say free, people think it's a catch. The only catch here is that you actually get to spend, have a cheaper monthly electric bill. The way the program works is that we have financial institutions or investors with this new green energy that's out there. They have to have what's called renewable energy credits, RECs. And the companies or the investors in the financial institutions, they get the tax credits. The installation company does the install, the monitoring, the maintenance, the purchase of these panels. They install it on the school, business, or financial, or government entity, and there is no cost to those facilities. They're literally just using your roof, and you get the monthly savings off of it. So basically, those are the several things that I'm doing. One more, we have a wellness program. This is by far one of the best programs there is out there. If you have a company that is 50, that you have 50 or more employees, this wellness programs gives you a 360 wellness program, which consists of financial, medical, and mental resources that has no copay. It extends to your immediate household family members, and you get to use it as often as you want. So if you need to do a telehealth with a psychiatrist, you can do it as often as you want with no copay. There's also a universal life policy attached to it that gives you a cash benefit, a living benefit, as well as obviously the debt benefit. And all of those is guaranteed issued, so you own it. And if you have pre-existing conditions, you still receive it. If you leave the company, you own it, you take it with you. If you just have to pay the premium. The third thing that they offer to the employee is a blood draw, which this blood draw tests for over 100 biomarkers that no insurance company would ever cover. Now, for every employee that enrolls in this program, the company is called Oasis. For every employee that enrolls in this program, which we have a 96% enrollment rate, the company employer receives workers' comp discounts and FICA tax savings, which is huge for them. And so it's a benefit and a win-win for the employer and the employee. And the best part about it, it doesn't cost the company or the employer or the employee any additional out-of-pocket money. So as an employee, if your check is $3,000 a month, getting these additional benefits, your check will still be $3,000 a month. So people say, well, how does the company get paid? Well, the money you were paying, because you always, and again, this is something that it does not replace the benefits that you have. This is an addition to the benefits. So you already have to have benefits in place that you are paying for. This is just an addition to what you already have. So there is no additional out-of-pocket cost. The money that you're paying for your benefits and in taxes, those taxes get rediverted to cover the benefit plan. That's how your check stays the same. That's how we get paid. So it's no additional cost, but it's additional benefits for the employee. It's FICA tax savings and worker discounts for the employer. It's a win-win for everybody. And that's basically what I've been doing so far.
Well, I got to tell you right now, if anyone out there is looking for a product spokesperson or a representative, clearly Tyrone Hughes is the guy you want to call, because the spiels he just gave sold me on a multitude of things. I'm gonna have to make some calls tonight. But you know what else he's going to be doing is he's going to be coming on a cruise with us. That's going to be fun. Are you a cruiser? Have you done this before?
I've done it several times. My first cruise was actually back in 1997, and then probably the next one didn't come up until probably 2000. What is this? 20? So probably about 2021 is when I started my second cruise. But since then, I've been going on a cruise every year with another organization. And now that the Saints are coming up with this one, this Legends Cruise, which I'm looking forward to ecstatically. It's a 7-day cruise. I'm ready and willing to go.
Yeah, we're going to be going to Costa Maya, Harvest Caye, Roatan, Cozumel. Have you ever been to any of those places? And do they entice you?
Cozumel. In fact, the one I go to every year, we go to Cozumel. It's just that one stop. We get off, we go do the excursions, lay out on the beach, get back on it, and then come back. But I tell you what, it's a cruise that the Saints are having, is giving us the opportunity. As I said, it's a 7-day. So we're going to all of these different locations to give us this opportunity to actually to mingle, have a lot of time to mingle with the fans, but also enjoy the scenery that with different ports that we're going to.
Yeah, I know on our group call with all of the legends, golf came up. So I know we're actively looking for locations to golf at. But hey, worst comes to worst, there's mini golf on board. We're going to have lots of opportunities for things like basketball. We are going to be having a multitude of parties on the boat, at the beach. We're going to be doing trivia contests, question and answer sessions, dinner with the legends. What do you think is the thing that excites you most after hearing kind of those things that you would want to be able to partake in with fans?
Oh, definitely. A dinner is always a must. We're going to be sitting with them every night. But basically getting out into those other areas or those ports and being able to enjoy some time with them, with your friends, with your family, other players, all of that. But most importantly, is definitely going to be the time spent on the boat. Everybody's going to be mingling and having fun.
It's going to be a great time. I'm excited for things like the question and answer session, because you see the guys on the field, you hear little stories and interviews, but you never really get the opportunity to hear like the behind the scenes or what was going on the sideline, like when this thing was happening. And so it'll be really fun. And I think the greatest part about it to me is that you have a combination of generation of Saints players where you have guys. I talked to a lot of the Van Jakes and Brett Maxies, guys who were a part of the Aints, part of the first winning season that the Saints ever had. And then you have all the way up to the guys who were a part of the Super Bowl team. So you have a really nice assortment of players from different generations that have gone through different experiences. And so my last question for you is, if a Saints fan is listening to this and they're thinking about coming on the cruise, what message do you have for them to get them onto the ship?
Well, first of all, if you're a Saints fan, you should want to come, because you're going to get to meet a bunch of great former players that you probably watched, loved, cheered for, enjoyed. So come on to the cruise. You're going to be able to interact with us. As he said, we're going to have question and answer nights where you can kind of not only get to know the players from the stage aspect, but also being able to mingle with us on the cruise at itself while we're out and about, and be able to talk to us one on one as well. So I think it's a great, it's the perfect fan, the ultimate fan excursion for any Saints fan out there.
Well, that about wraps it up for today, and we really want to thank Tyrone for jumping on and doing this video with us. Could you do social media, and where can they find you?
Facebook, I'm at Tyrone Hughes. You'll see my picture. I think Instagram is Saints HOF33. LinkedIn, I'm Tyrone Hughes. So I think that's probably about it.
Yeah, for all those businesses out there that heard his excellent speeches about every company he works with, and they really were good. I mean, there's some compelling information. There are things that make you think, especially with the health side of things. I know there's a lot of biomarkers that you don't get looked at until it's too late or you're in the process of something happening. So there is a lot of consideration to go there. We want to thank you again. You can find us on Instagram at Saints Legends Fan Cruise. That's all for today's Saints Nation. Remember, the inaugural Saints Legends Fan Cruise is setting sail in April of 2025 aboard the Norwegian Getaway. Don't miss this chance to be a part of the first class that goes on the inaugural Saints Legends Fan Cruise. For all the details and to book your spot, head over to saintslegendcruise.com. I'm Nick Valinchak, and I'll see you on board.